I lived in Los Angeles up until I was about 9 years old, and then my father, who invented this amazing product, paint, for the outside of houses, he wanted to make his business international. And so we moved to Geneva, Switzerland, where I grew up and kind of lived until I went to college. And it was really during that time that I wanted very much to kind of make a mark in my high school. And so I started to play the guitar. I was the only one I knew, actually, that played the guitar in Switzerland. So I was playing, I'm left-handed, so I was playing a right-handed guitar left-handed, only to know that my fingers were just, So I came out to LA in '71, and I thought of, I had been writing songs, and I met two producers, and they signed me to their production deal. And then we got signed to Capitol Records. And I started to, record right from then. And of course, on my first album, we needed one more song to complete the album. And it sort of turned out to be my claim to fame. It's going to be on my epitaph no matter what I do. You just never know what is going to be a defining moment. And on this particular night, I was depressed. I was in my apartment eating frozen M&Ms for a change when my girlfriend, Michelle, told me to get out of the house, come to the Troubadour, and hear a singer that I hadn't heard of before. And so, okay, reluctantly I go. I'm sitting there. And as we're sitting there, I hear him sing some songs, one that he's well known for, Bye Bye Miss American Pie. It's Don McLean. And he starts to sing, and I wonder if you know that I never understood that although you said you'd go until you did, I never thought you would. And I was just sitting there so moved, so I kind of felt like he was singing about me and my life. I really did. I felt, of course, I was coming into the concert feeling vulnerable anyway, but I felt like he was reading my letters out loud. I felt like he'd found my diary. I felt that he was singing right to me, but then he didn't really see me. He was looking through me. So I wrote this poem on a napkin, and I showed it to the producers I was working with. The lyricist adapted my poem into a lyric and showed it to Charles Fox, who wrote the music, which was a little different. It was a hair different, but they adapted it for my voice. And my song was starting to rise up the chart. It's being played on an airplane, and Roberta Flack is, on this flight, and she hears my version. At that time, I was on the cover of American Airlines. The title kind of intrigued her, so she started to sort of play the song live, actually. And during one performance, I think at the Greek Theater, Richard T. was improvising, and it was an encore, and the audience was kind of going crazy for her version. And Quincy said to her, "Don't sing that dang song one more time until you record it." And so she did, and it just zoomed to #1, knocked mine off the charts, and yeah, that's the story. I heard he sang a good song. I heard he had a style. And so I came to see him, to listen for a while. And there he was, this young boy, a stranger to my eyes, strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
Gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
What an amazing story.
Here I am again. The song is now #1. It's by Roberta Flack, and it's just, doing great. And again, I'm in my apartment and I'm watching the Dinah show on TV, and I see Don McLean, and he's up there and he's talking about the story of the song. And but I need to double back, because in the last few years I was asked to participate in a documentary about him. And so as I'm talking about the genesis of Killing Me Softly, I'm saying Don McLean this, Don McLean that, and the videographer and the director, they stop tape and they say, stop. It's McLean. I go,
Yeah,
what?
right.
What? McLean? So now, back in the 70s, I'm sitting in my apartment, I'm watching the Dinah show, I'm watching Don McLean, and he goes, yeah, this song actually was inspired by a poem written by Lori Lieberman. So I went right to the refrigerator, had more candy. You know, I've always kind of been a little isolated. As I said, I kind of grew up a foreigner, came to LA. I was really out of my comfort zone when suddenly I got signed with Capitol Records. So I was a little protected even during those first years. I performed with, everybody, and hung out with some well-known people. But I still was a little bit sheltered. So I don't know if I'm really the right person to talk about how writing was or what it was like. For me, I went from album to album to album, and my career was kind of, all about agents and Capitol Records and all that kind of stuff. But I did rub elbows with the people that, you've probably heard about. Touring with Leonard Cohen, I kind of hung out more with him. I got to know him better. What an interesting person he was. My former husband was musical director for Cher, so we did a lot of hanging out with her and her kids and all of that. In fact, she is the one who suggested that you got to name your son Will, that kind of thing. For me, I didn't know where to fit in. And this was like 1979, 1980, and I just tried to be quarter flash. I tried with the shoulder pads and all that, but my music just did not fit into disco. The defining moment for me was going into an office with a publisher, and when I went in, having been told no, I finally go in, and he's on the phone when I go in, and he's like this. And I sit down and he kind of nods to me. We've never met before, but he's still talking about nothing important, frankly, about where we're going to have dinner. Let's try this restaurant. And so I said to myself at that moment, I'm going to give this guy another 2 minutes, and then I'm going to get up and I'm never coming back. And that's exactly what happened. I got up, bye-bye, arrivederla, and I walked out. And 10 years later, I got back into singing. But during that time, I had kids. I created a life for myself for the first time. Dogs, homeopathy, horses. It was a very nice and sheltered time until I started to record again. And largely because of a gentleman named Joe Cali, who recognized a poster of myself on my wall. And said, you should be singing again. What are you doing? And I had been all these years writing, but keeping my songs in secret, kind of in a treasure trove. And he got me singing again. It doesn't take much for somebody just to give you a little encouragement and a little respect. And boy, that would go a long way. But if you're like me and you're sitting at the piano and someone says, doesn't really read music, she's not really a piano player. That's all it took for me to step away from the piano and not play for years, until finally at 65 years old, I have the strength to say, I'm going to take that comment, I'm going to throw it right back at you. Coming back to the business and starting to sing again, and now I've just released my 18th CD. I was at Carnegie Hall, sold out, and I didn't think that anyone would remember me. There was no internet then, and now I see that my fan base is still there, and I've been writing, and I feel almost like at this stage, the more I write, the more I have to say, which is interesting. As an artist writer, I really, really need to make my work appropriate for my age. I'm not going to be Taylor Swift, and I'm not going to have Miley's experiences right now, but I do find I say my age again, 65, I just have a lot to say, I think, a lot more experience and insight than I had then. I know that if I start to write something that I'm sitting on my shoulder and detached, I'm going, you know what, Lori, this is a hit song. Lori, this is really good. Oh my God. I lose every time, every time. If I just say, I'm doing this for me, I want to be interested in what I'm singing and saying. I want to be moved. And if I listen in my car to the songs I've written and, you know, that are in the process of being finished, and I'm bored and I skip over one, then it's not right and something's wrong and it didn't move me. And if it doesn't move me, how is it going to affect somebody else, exactly, right? But Chad, don't you just love the process of writing? I just
do, yeah.
love it. I love being in it. I love knowing that something's keeping me up at night and it's a word that's not quite right and it's a puzzle that has to, and it's a restless feeling. It's not an easy job. Maybe for some people it's, you know, well, not for me. I struggle and I like it. Let me just say, first of all, I love the graphics. I love the accessibility of it. I think that it is a great idea for songwriters to present songs that maybe didn't get the attention that the songs deserved, and there's a forum for that. I also have to say I've discovered songs on qWaqqchat that I didn't before. It's easy to navigate through, and not being that internet savvy for me, it was easy to sign up. You know, I really like that. I have to say, I think it's designed beautifully. It's a beautiful app, and you know, you don't have to, you know, do waves. You do an MP3. You want to load it up. Boom, it's done. Saying a little something about it, and it feels like a safe place for me too. And it's also a colorful app. I just love it. And I'm really thrilled to be a part of it.